Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this evening's Road to Success, Unveiling the Depths of ACES Beyond the Basics, presented by our Mental Health, Wellness, and Safety Committee. I'm Carolyn Nelson Goddard, your Florida PTA president, and I'm really glad to be here with all of you. Karen Mazzola, our Vice President of Education, is here with us as this committee falls under her purview. Thank you, Karen. I'll introduce the committee chair along with the vice chair and members that are here with us in just a moment. Right now, I'd like to introduce, if I may, the members of our executive committee and board of directors who have joined us this evening. Melanie Williams is our state secretary.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Melanie. Kay Hawkins is our Central Region representative.
Good evening, everyone.
Polly DeLucia is our resource development chair.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Polly. And now on to the members of our committee who will be presenting the wonderful presentation that they've prepared for you this evening. We have Asia Claremont, who is the committee chair.
Hi, thank you.
Shelley Pedraza, our vice chair.
Welcome, everyone.
And Michelle Thornton Bullinger. Correct me, Michelle.
Nope, you got it.
Oh, yay.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining.
And I see a couple of faces that I'm not familiar with, so I'll say welcome to Joseph. Thanks for joining us, Joseph. And Mary Reeves, who is the immediate past president, I believe, of the For Our Children Community PTA in Miami-Dade County. So I'm going to turn it back over to our committee chair, Asia Claremont. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you and welcome everybody once again for joining us in this wonderful evening. And I would like to give it to Shelley to talk about our mission. We cannot do a presentation without remind ourselves what is our mission.
Thank you. So our PTA mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Every child, one voice. Cada niño, una voz.
Thank you. What a wonderful thing, right? And we are going to be talking about what is ACES. And it's not just, every time I hear the word ACES, I think about a deck of cards, but it's not just a deck of cards. It's not like you're going to a casino and have the ACES or playing any game. This is something more serious than that. And we're going to talk about the normal, what we know ACES, and then we're going to go a little bit more to beyond what ACES is. So ACES is adverse childhood experience. And those are stressful situations that a child goes through. And it becomes so, it's like having the backpack that is filled with things that they experience. And children, they don't know how to deregulate or diffuse the stress situation. And that can cause them to hold them, not to be able to express themselves. And that can cause greater things. So that is the reason why they are adverse situations. And that normally it happened in 3 environments: at home, at school, and out in the community. And we're going to go a little bit in depth in regards to each one of those places and how that affects our children. Although there are many potential of stress events that can happen in our lives, we know that stress comes in many different forms and shapes. We have abuse, we have neglect, and abuse can be either physical, emotional, or sexually. And just to think about that, our children can go through those stages and experience those things, which is adverse to them because they're new to this world, right? And then the neglect can be also emotional and physical. They can experience challenges at home when the parent doesn't have nothing to give, or whatever is happening, whatever is the dynamic at the house that can also affect the child. Living with parents with a caregiver, so depending on how they were raised, sometimes we give what we can give, and as an adult, we just do what we know. And you don't know what you don't know. And that's what happened, that we can continue prolonging and exposing our children to that adverse experiences. Discrimination, especially for the Hispanic and minority community, we face that day in and day out. Bullying, feeling to feel unsafe. And it's so much so for children that they go to school and they want to feel safe, but school is not sometimes a safe environment for them. And that also can cause adverse experience to the child. We know that we have conventional ACEs. If we look at that infographic that we have in there, we can see right in the center, we see conventional ACEs. And then we expand it a little bit more to what is abuse, what is neglect, what is the household dysfunctionality. And then we see that it's go a little bit a broader spectrum, because it's expanded beyond just those that we thought it was conventional or a little bit stretched. So right now, there's so many researches done in the matter, and they have determined that it's bigger than what we thought it was. So originally, we have right now, it started with the list of 10 conventional ACEs, and then they added an additional 5, and now they had added community and social impact. So how people view or experience the world.
Why do ACEs matter? Children who experience ACEs often have a higher level of stress than children who do not experience ACEs. High levels of stress can lead to serious health problems in adolescence and throughout adulthood, with depression, diabetes, and heart disease, as well as an increased likelihood of engaging in high-risk behavior such as misusing drugs like tobacco and alcohol. The impacts of ACEs sometimes do not show up until many years later. So just keep that in mind. It's one of those things that you might see it at the impact as a child. You might see it as an adolescent. You might see it as an adult. So it's something that can change. The more ACEs a person has, the greater risk of experiencing health problems and challenges in school, work, and relationships. And this is an infographic to kind of like give an idea of like the different things that could be happening in a child's brain. So it affects your mental and your physical health. So if you look at the little like what do you call them, bubbles, thought bubbles, then it shows different things. So you have like the reduced ability to respond, learn, or figure things out, which can result in problems in school. It can lower your tolerance for stress, which can result in behaviors such as fighting, checking out, or defiance. It can increase problems with learning and memory. It can increase stress hormones, which affects the body's ability to fight infection, where that kicks in the physical health. It can also create toxic stress that increases your heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing, including difficulty making friends and maintaining relationships as well when it comes to your mental health. So there's a lot of different things that it can do in our children's brains that can impact them in many different aspects. Okay, so this is the part that I have to give like a disclaimer before we even start this. We're going to take the test. We're going to take the ACE test. It is very simple. It's 10 questions. The idea for this, it's not to get stressed out about how many ACEs you might have or whatever the case is. The idea behind it is to make sure that you are being aware of what it is. One, you want to know how many ACEs you have, but also, after, we will go into the details of like what that means and what you can do about it. So this is not just, hey, let's just ruin your day with this whole bunch of negativity stuff. It's a tool for you to kind of get an idea of where you're at and what you can do to better the situation. So it's very simple. We're going to ask a 10 questions. At each question, give yourself 1 point for every yes. Okay, so if you can grab a piece of paper, a pen, a pencil, a crayon, it just, for every yes, you get 1 point. Okay, and we're not going to ask you for your your numbers or anything like that, because this is strictly something for you to kind of look at where you're at. And the reality is a lot of our advocates are going to have higher scores. That's what makes us amazing advocates, because we see the need. We've gone through, different life experiences, and it makes us, want to give back and support our kids. So I'm going to wait one more second because I see people trying to find paper. Okay. All right. So remember, do not be hard on yourself. I was super surprised at how many I got. It is okay. That's life. Just give yourself 1 point for every yes. Okay. All right. Question number 1. Before you were 18, did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you? Or act in a way that made you afraid you might be physically hurt? Number 2, did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you, or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured? Number 3, did an adult or person at least 5 years older than you ever touch or fondle you, or have you touch their body in a sexual way, or attempt to actually have oral, anal, or vaginal intercourse with you? Number 4, did you often or very often feel that no one in your family loved you, or thought you were important or special, or your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? Number 5, did you often or very often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, and had no one to protect you? Or your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or take you to the doctor if you needed it? Number 6, was a biological parent ever lost to you through divorce, abandonment, or other reason?
Number 7, was the parent often or very often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something throw at him or her by a domestic partner, or sometimes often or very often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist or with something hard, or ever repeatedly hit over at least a few minutes, or threatened with a gun or knife? Number 8, do you live with anyone who was a problem drinker or alcoholic or who used street drugs? Number 9, was a household member depressed or mentally ill, or did a household member attempt suicide? number 10. Did a household member go to prison?
Okay, so we're gonna stop here and you can look at, add your numbers up. And that will give you an idea. So as we continue going forward with this presentation, you're gonna get an idea of what that means, you know, what the numbers mean. Don't worry if you have more than one. There's quite a few people that will have more than one. That is, you know, why we're doing this. And honestly, it's why we're such good advocates. So, all right. So you do not have to share your number, but just keep in mind, we're going to go over some of the things of what that means. And then Asia is going to kind of talk about what we can do about it. Okay. So this is not just, hey, here's a bunch of bad news. Okay. So the ACE assessment scoring. So if you look at the bottom part of this slide, you will see that it has kind of like a little bit of a bar graph. So you see if you have 0 or 1, you're about in the same area. 67% of people have 1. So that is something that, you know, it's semi-typical. When you go up in the number, the more effect there will be in mentally, physically in your life, possibly. So when you look at 2, 3, 4, you see that those numbers continue to kind of rise. Over 4 tends to have more, I'm going to call them side effects for lack of a better word. So studies find those with adverse childhood experiences were at higher risk for heart, lung, and liver disease, obesity, diabetes, depression, and substance abuse. So these are some of the stats. So 67% of the population have at least one ACE. So adverse childhood experiences are the single greatest unaddressed public health threat facing our nation today. There's so many things that are affecting our kids, and some of these things are things that we can actually work on. So that is part of the reason that we really thought it was important to present this. If you have 4 or more ACEs, you have 3 times the level of you're 3 times more likely to have a lung disease than lung disease and adult smoking. 11 times higher level of intravenous drug use, 14 times higher the number of suicide attempts, 4 times as likely to have begun intercourse by age 15, 4.5 times more likely to develop depression, and 2 times the level of liver disease. 2 times more likely to have liver disease. So if you look at 6 and above, so if you have 6 ACEs or above, I know this is super dramatic, but this is just something that, because it can cause chronic health issues, this is where that kicks in. You can die 20 years earlier than those who have none. And that's if you have more than 6. And then 1 out of 8 of the population have more than 4 ACEs. So it unfortunately is something that is very much a huge issue in our society and in our schools.
Thank you, Shelley. And as you guys went through the assessment, each one of us experienced it differently, and that brought different memories from childhood. I just want you to know that you guys, nobody's alone in this, and so since that is so common, and like Shelley said, that's what makes us a great advocate. That is why I think that today workshop is reinforcing the reason why we do what we do and why we have the passion that we have, because you have to be relevant and be able to identify with people that you have to be there, done that, to be able to get someone out of whatever they find themselves in whatever situation. So ACEs goes from stages to stages. And it's like I will say it's like the cyber thief that steals your identity without you even being aware of. And that's what ACEs does for our children, and that lingers from childhood to adolescent and to adulthood. The childhood adversities are abuse, neglect, related stressors in the house. Our little ones, they're so vulnerable, and they want to be in a place that is safe for them. And they do not know how to regulate the experiences and the stressor. And that lingers into the adolescent stages without being treated, or without being kind of level and offset and bring them in the secure place or safety environment. It's going to linger to the next stage in their life. And that's when we see that when they are teenagers, they have they experience substance abuse. So it's kind of like it goes from level 1 to level 2: substance abuse, suicidal, pregnancy. We have so much teen pregnancy, mental illness, sexual risk behaviors. And that untreated, uncared for, goes back into the adulthood, and that the list is bigger. Why? Because now it goes from one stage to another, and it goes from level 1, level 2, now level 3, that we have the adult. Now it goes to chronic disease, substance use, obesity, lack of exercise, STD, HIV, risk to sexual, due to sexual risky behaviors, mental illness, also suicidality, and emotional dysregulation. ACEs goes from one generation to another generation. And there's been studies showing that ACEs disrupt and alter the DNA of the individual. And that disruption or mutation is what lingers to the next generation, because now our body is not made to hold stress at all. And when you experience a birth situation, you'll find yourself your brain releasing hormones like a cortisol, and also cortisol and adrenaline. And what happens is that those hormones alter your DNA, and that's what goes to the next thing. And that affect them academically, emotionally, and also affect their career. Academically, our children they struggle in school, they don't behave well, they have challenges, they are disengaged, it becomes harder and harder in tasks in school. It's because of that. Emotionally, they feel angry more often. They get in trouble, challenges, situations. They have hard time keeping friends. And then because of it, when they face from one place to another, it's going to be hard for them to bounce back, to get out of it, because there's so much on them that their emotions are headwire. Career-wise, that's when it goes through the adulthood piece of it, because it impacts their future. Someone that has not identified or properly taken the necessary step to either regulate themselves or prevent it or seek out for some professional help, they're going to have difficulties when they are at job. They're going to have performance issues. And then that leads to less money, because they're not going to find a job. They're not be able to hold a position. And that is going to affect their family as well. And that's what's going to go from one generation to the next. With that, knowing that ACEs affect your mind, your mental health, your physiological health, and also your environment, we want to introduce mindfulness into the equation as an idea to help to bring awareness. And what is a mindfulness? It's the practice of you to focus in and be aware of the present, living in the moment. We are so used to live in the past or in the future. Either we're thinking what happened last year when we were little, and we just not even stop to really enjoy life. And then when we are here today, right now, we're thinking that what I'm going to do tomorrow, what I'm going to do next year. And we always in that two times, past and future. Mindfulness bring you back into the present, make it to be grounded and think about an experience. It could be anything, like when you're cooking, you need to be focused on what you do and enjoy and smell. All those things is mindfulness. And we can teach our children to experience and be resilient. That really help with the resiliency. Following, I'm going to give you some practical mindfulness exercises. For example, one that I like a lot is the mindful observation. It's like it, and you can practice that with a young one. They sit in a place and they just spot something that they want to look at, and they start looking at the color, the size, the texture, and they start looking at it in a different way that they have not seen it before, without any judgment. Not that it's crooked, not that it's twisted. Just appreciate what you're looking at and make that connection with that you're observing. And that will release the stress, because now you shift your mind from whatever was causing you being stressed out or it was an adverse experience to something that is more positive and bring calmness. Self-care. We cannot have mindfulness without self-care. And what is a self-care? It's the time that you deliberately, that you purposely make time for yourself. And like I said this earlier, I always think about the oxygen mask every time I hear the word self-care, because every time you go to a plane, they tell you that you have to put the oxygen mask first, and then you can take care of others. Now, interestingly enough, when we were putting this together in the group, some of us felt that, I've been into this situation, but I cannot put my brain like it. Oh, I'm going to take the mask and put it on myself, because how dare me? So I'm not going to do that. That's being like it. I'm not a good mother if I don't take care of my child first. And then we were talking and discussing this, because then we realized that, wait a minute, I need to be long time for my child, because if I'm not there, they're going to be orphaned. So we started to see how the three of us has three different perspectives to one simple thing. And it's based on what you have experienced in your life that makes you behave, that makes you to filter things and make you to do what you do. And that's what happened with ACE. So self-care brings you to that point that you say, you know what? I have to take care of myself. I have to invest in myself. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3, 4, 5. And you will start just being consistent at it. And you're going to be a better person, a better volunteer. Because sometimes, let's face it, when we don't take care of ourselves, when we go to a PTA meeting, we have no patience for whatever we hear, right? Because we haven't taken care of ourselves. But when we have, it doesn't matter what happened. We say, okay, whatever. Let's move the next, and help us to be grounded. So self-care is the most that we owe it to ourselves. And there's some practical practices for self-care. It is staying active. Some of us, we don't like to do a lot of exercise because we have all the excuses in the book. Eating healthy is something that you're taking care of yourself. Getting enough sleep. To find something fun. We sometimes are in a go, and absorbed with our children that we forget to do something fun for ourselves. And we forget to look at the beauty into the madness or the brokenness. And there is a technique, a Japanese technique that I love, and we discussed that in the group. And I'm mentioning it now because I know that the three of us believe that you can make something good out of something ugly, and you can make it much better. And that happened with self-care. If you do not do that, then you're not going to be able to make it something good out of nothing, out of something ugly. So we need to spend time also with the things that our loved ones, the things that we love doing as well. And if we practice this, I guarantee you that we're going to start feeling less stress. We're going to help our children to be more resilient. And remember, the key of that, of any success, is consistency. If we're consistent, we're going to achieve the success that we're looking for. So keep that in mind. Can it be prevented? Of course, yes, it can be prevented. Like anything. How can we prevent ACEs? Simple. If ACEs is caused by an adverse situation, what we have to do, the opposite. We have to bring a positive and safe environment for our loved ones, for our children, even for ourselves. Because once we identify, we all have been through this assessment. And I know that we now know what areas we need to work at. And based on that, we can do something to create a positive connection for our children, as caring for them, helping them to feel safe, and teach them how to cope with any stress or any challenges that they may face at school, with the family, or in the community.
You're muted, Asia.
Thank you. With that said, what we do, we create positive childhood experiences. We can strengthen families, the financial stability. We can promote social norms. And that's what we do in PTA. We advocate, we trying to bring something different. Would help kids to have a good start. We have many programs that help them to do that. We teach healthy and relational skills. We do that as a PTA with the programs that we bring to our community. We help with the connection. We connect activities with young, with caregivers, with adults. We intervene and lessen the immediate and long-term harms that they are facing, because we advocate for them. When we see something wrong, we're going to go to Tallahassee. We're going to do whatever it takes to make sure. We're going to work with our school system. We're going to be in the face of the principal. We're going to do anything because we've been there, done that. And by doing that, by creating a positive childhood experiences, then we can reduce 44% reduction on stress. And the stress is one of the biggest illness in the not here in the States, but around the world. We can have 33% reduction of any adult that is a tobacco user or any drug user. We can have from 24 to 27% reduction of anybody that has COPD or any lung disease. We can have 16% reduction of kidney failure. We can have 15% reduction of the number of people that lose their job and are in critical financial conditions. So it's much that we can do. It's much that we can, and how can we, as PTA members, how can we work with the schools, and how can we do that? Well, it's very easy. We just have to address it, and we have to find a way to make the community conscious and teach them that what we're doing today. So this presentation is going to be available for you guys if you guys need it, to go a little bit beyond, because we can partner with the school, with the community, to make it a better and a safer place for our children, fostering supportive educational environment, promoting healthy style, and ensuring access to mental health resources. We can do that.
Thank you. Okay, so realistically, we do not expect the PTA to make all of these issues go away. There's only so much that we as PTA can do. But a big part of that, like Asia said, is creating programs that are informative to the parents, to the guardians, the families, and to the children, giving them different tools and skills that they can take with them. So that being said, based off of this previous list right here of like financial stability, protecting against violence, making sure that our kids have a good start, teaching healthy relationship skills, creating activities where they can be around caring adults and intervening. Please drop in the chat box anything that you feel you've done in your local unit, or you've seen done in your local unit, or you've seen someone else do that you think was amazing and genius, and you think other people should have it, have that knowledge. Please drop it in the chat, because it's definitely something that we want to make sure that we're giving everyone as many ideas as possible, so that they can kind of look and see what fits with their community, because it's not a one size fits all thing. Every single school has a different atmosphere, has a different environment, has different populations. So you need to make sure that you are looking at your school report card and talking to the teachers and talking to the principal to make sure that you are getting a good picture of what you as a PTA can bring into the school. And making sure that your boards are inclusive, so that you do have different voices on your boards, because not all of us have had the same experience. Like Asia said, the three of us went through this, through the ACE questions, and we all had different experiences. We've all looked at things differently. So it's the same on your board. So you want to make sure that you are being inclusive and having those different opinions, and valuing those different opinions, because it's not one person knows all the things. We want to make sure that we're all working together. So let's see what we have here. Support your area's alternative schools. Yes, that's super important, because oftentimes they do not have as much support as our typical schools. At my local unit, we had packed and ready lunch boxes for our children that did not have lunch or was unable to have lunch provided. That's super amazing. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share some of the ideas that we have, and then if you have any ideas, or any of this kind of triggers something that you've done, definitely drop it in the chat. If you have questions, drop it in the chat. We are here to support you. And the thing is, you don't necessarily have to start a new program. It does not have to be this huge, massive thing. It can be an existing program that you take and you adjust. So like trunk or treats. That's an easy example, because, not everyone has a car, or not everyone feels comfortable showing their car. Maybe their car has different colored doors, or whatever the case is, and they don't necessarily want to bring the car to the school to do a trunk or treat, but they want to be engaged and they want to do that for their children. I mean, maybe start something where it's trunks and tables. So you have tables as well, and you as a PTA can have a couple of tables, so that they're not the only ones at tables. And I know some of my units in my county, they actually get donations of candy and they give it to everyone, so that nobody is having to pay out of pocket for the candy. So it's more inclusive and everyone can partake in that event. So there's definitely ways that you can adjust existing events to make sure that you're being inclusive and helping, financially, giving them that financial stability, and just giving them the support that they need to be able to be engaged. Because at the end of the day, that's our biggest thing, is making sure that we're engaging the families, that they're coming to the schools, because they can, it's better for our children. Okay, so financial stability. I have a ton of examples. This is just some that we put on here, but we have a lot more. But so like for elementary students, and you can do like financial literacy story time, and you can adjust that based on age group. So you can also do that for middle and high. Don't call it story time. They do not like story time, but you can call it financial literacy, class, or, webinar, or whatever the case is, and just invite you have age appropriate financial literacy themes. So it can be about saving money, budgeting, needs versus wants. I know even as adults, we need that training on needs versus wants. Provide books and resources that introduce basic financial concepts in an engaging manner. So you want to make sure that you're kind of engaging, and it doesn't have to be, especially for our kids, you don't want it to be super, super serious. You want it to be fun and something that they can be engaged in. You can do family financial workshops. You can invite a local bank. I think one of the examples last training was FedEx. They are a sponsor of Florida PTA, and I know that they do provide different trainings and stuff like that that they can do at the schools. Resource fair, that can be anything from, local unit housing help to local housing help to, helping with the different places that you can get food or just different assistance for our families. Back to school events. There's always back to school events that are trying to give out backpacks or school supplies or sneakers like that. The PTA can help connect those families with those people that are able to do that. Or if your PTA is able to get donations and have them there, then that's also great. Free family events. I made free big because honestly, it's extremely important to make sure that you are making it easy for our families to access these programs and these events. So you want to make sure that you are making it very accessible to them. Food pantry support. For middle school, you can do like an entrepreneur day. So you can like kind of have like, they can start a business and you can teach them different things like business concepts, pricing, marketing, managing profits. You can do, for high school, you can do career exploration events. So reach out to different professions and you can have them come in and speak with your students. College and financial aid information sessions, scholarship workshops. Not just our PTSAs often have the scholarships that our children can apply to, but also, you can help them with searching for the scholarships. Have a professor volunteer their time and help them write essays and prepare strong applications. And also interview skills. A lot of our students do need a job, and giving them those skills, the interviewing skills, are extremely important as they continue on in their college or beyond career. Kindness programs. So you can do bully prevention workshops. I mean, bully prevention across the board is always a great idea. You want to teach them kindness. So you can do like kindness challenges. You can do kindness signs, You Matter bracelets. I did that at one of my middle schools one year. You can do parent workshops for recognizing the signs of bullying, promote social skills at home and fostering resilience. So if you look at some of the examples, we try to make sure that, yes, we are, helping the kids with their self-care and with their knowledge of what they need to do, but then also the parents and the guardians making sure that they have the skills and the knowledge that they need to make sure that they are making the right choices for their kids as well. Good Start, that's a great example of, I just put them all together because honestly, like it varies by age, and you really can do really any of these things at any time. So like nutrition education workshops, healthy snack programs, physical activity initiatives like fun runs or walkathons. You can do gardening programs to talk about like, how to have a garden, and you can have something at the school. Health and wellness fairs, mental health awareness. And that's a huge one because honestly, like every single one of us as adults and as our children, our students, everyone has some form of stress. So it's really important to take that time, like Asia said, for the self-care and to figure out how to manage that stress. There are different techniques that they can get and coping skills that help with that. Hygiene education, substance abuse prevention programs. And then there's more stuff. So like, seminars focusing on topics such as communication, conflict resolution, and fostering positive relationships between guardians and children, right? Because I think oftentimes we don't get a handbook. We end up we have children and we don't necessarily know how to communicate depending on their age too. I mean, I have a 15-year-old, super different than when he was 6. So you want to make sure that you are giving the families different ways of kind of learning what they can do to not only work with the ACEs and make sure that we're doing what we can to limit the effects of whatever ACEs the child already has, but preventing further issues down the road. So you want to make sure that you can do whatever you can. Conflict resolution, that's huge. And that can be between peers at the school, and it can also be with families. So you can do different things like that. Definitely lunch with a loved one is always a good one. If you are currently doing muffins with mom or donuts with dad, consider switching it to lunch with a loved one. So that way it's more inclusive and everyone feels welcome. And then look in your community. We have so many community partners and different organizations that are trying to support our kids. You know, you can reach out to the Children's Cabinet. You can reach out to NAMI. They are always willing to present something on mental health. Safe House has programs about safe dating relationships, like what's a healthy relationship as opposed to what's not a healthy relationship. And they do those free of charge. It's something that they just want to make sure that people are aware. Reach out to your guidance counselors at the school and reach out to your county PTAs. A lot of the county PTAs have a lot of knowledge and different things that they know that is happening in things that are happening in the community. And these are some of the examples that I have just off the cuff, but there are a lot of organizations that can help our kids. And a big part of PTA is creating those connections and making sure that we are taking advantage of all of these amazing organizations that are out there and partner with them. So definitely just consider that. And I think, okay, yeah. I think we have a video. Asia, did you want to do the video now?
No, I want to do the video after the mindfulness exercise.
Okay.
We have learned a lot today. There has been an evening of mixed emotions. There has been discovery. And now with that, I want us to release a little bit and just to ground ourselves. This morning, we did a breathing exercise for mindfulness, but now we're going to do a PMR, which is a progressive muscle relaxation. And this is how it goes. You're going to start from your toe all the way to your head. So you're going to take a muscle from your toe and you're going to kind of flex it for 5 seconds, and you're going to flex it and then you're going to release it for 30 seconds. So you're going to flex for 5 seconds and release for 30. So we're just going to do that, and we're going to implement a little bit of breathing technique into that as well. So we're going to take a deep breath to start our mindfulness exercise. We're going to inhale, and we're going to think about all the stuff that we want to let go, and we're going to release it in a long exhale. Okay, so let's do it to the count of 3. And we're going to do the PMR just for 3 times, just because of the sake of time, but you can go from toe all the way to your head. So to the count of 3, let's close our eyes and then ground ourselves, relax your body. And let's count 1, 2, 3. Take a deep breath, inhale. Think about the things that you want to let go. Hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Exhale and do a long exhale. Now what you're going to do, you're going to take your toe and you're going to flex one muscle of your toe. And we're going to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to relax it. And we're going to wait 30 seconds. Now we're going to take another deep breath. We're going to inhale. And we're going to think about something that brings happiness or we are grateful for. And we're going to inhale and absorb all that into our being. We're going to fill ourselves with it. And as we exhale, we're going to exhale everything that it doesn't belong in our body. Anything that is garbage, toxic, that we want to release, we do that. So let's do the second breath. So to the count of 3, inhale. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Now we can flex any muscle in your body for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna relax it for 30 seconds. And we're gonna take our last breath. We're going to close our eyes and we're gonna inhale. We're gonna think all the beautiful things that we're gonna do, how this has helped us. And then we're gonna hold it in for 3 to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're gonna exhale. And we're gonna release everything that is unwanted. We have experienced mindfulness, and that those techniques that help us to relieve stress. And with that, we're gonna go with our 2 minutes to wrap it all up, everything up. So if you miss anything, this 2 minutes video is gonna just summarize everything that we have done in this presentation today.
Adverse childhood experiences, called ACEs, are stressful or traumatic experiences that occur in childhood, like violence, abuse, and growing up in a family with substance use or mental health problems. When a caring adult or supportive environment doesn't soften those adverse experiences, or when they are ongoing or overwhelming, they can lead to a prolonged activation of our stress response, called toxic stress. Think of toxic stress like this. Our bodies were designed to escape predators quickly. Imagine you're walking through the woods and you see a bear. Your brain signals your body to release stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart begins to pound and your body prepares you to either fight or run from the bear. And that's useful if you're in the forest and there's a bear. The problem is when children face threats to their physical and emotional safety, and this system is activated over and over and over again. What was meant to protect you begins to do the opposite and becomes damaging to your health, creating long-lasting wear on your body and brain. Children are especially vulnerable to the effects of ACEs and toxic stress because their brains and bodies are still developing. The toxic stress from ACEs and other adversities such as poverty, racism, discrimination, and natural disasters can disrupt the normal functioning of vital bodily systems. Simply put, toxic stress can result in long-term mental and physical health conditions. Not only that, but the effects of ACEs can be passed from parent to child for generations through the biological changes and behaviors associated with ACEs and toxic stress. A person with 4 or more ACEs is twice as likely to suffer from heart disease, cancer, and stroke, 4 times as likely to develop depression, and 12 times as likely to attempt suicide. The good news is that safe, stable relationships and environments and other interventions such as physical and mental health support can reduce the risk of ACEs leading to toxic stress and stress-related health conditions. To learn more, visit www.osg.ca.gov.
Thank you. So as we can see, it's much that it can be done. So here we have links of different videos. We have this presentation. We have created a kind of a booklet for you guys. So if you guys need it, Karen said that she's going to put it with the when we publish the video. So it's going to be there for it to be downloaded. Do you guys have any questions at this moment? Any things that you want to share? Any feedback? So we welcome to hear from you guys.
I would like to highlight, we had a lot of good examples in the chat of different programs. So we had someone mention that for the book fairs, they would have people donate books. So that way they had some gently used books for the children that could not afford books from the book fair. And then we have a high school that has like boutiques where they get donated dresses and tuxedos and stuff like that, so that the kids can actually go shopping at the boutique and it's free. So they just go in and pick something for those kids that, you know, do not have the funds to buy something new. So those are really
Any
good
questions,
examples.
any comments? Thank you, Shelley. Thank you so much. And thank you for those who put it in the chat as well. Well, with this, I'm
Hey,
gonna,
Asia, can I say something? It's Ollie.
yes, please. Hi,
Hey,
Pauline, how
I
you
just want to
doing?
say that a really good resource can be your county school system, because they often know regionally within the county, very targeted, where these students are and where you can most help in a community. Seminole has done a lot of geo-profiling on their students. And so that can help you with outreach to particular areas if you partner with the county to get information about where you can make the most difference. Of course, some of these issues are, you know, everywhere, regardless of income, regardless of other circumstances, but there are definitely some ways that you can target areas where there are more likely to be problems.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you very much. Anybody else? No. With that, I'm gonna pass to our Madam President, Carolyn.
Thank you, Asia. So thank you, everyone, again for joining this evening. As usual, our committees come through with great programs that provide not only resources for our children, but for the entire family, because we have to recognize that it is the whole child that we are attending to and advocating for, not just the child in school, but rather the child at home, in the community, places of worship, everywhere. So with that being said, I did put a couple of links into the chat for you. If you've not already registered for our leadership convention, there are a couple of links about convention in the chat. First is the link for our overall leadership convention webpage. There you'll find a ton of information, not only on registration, but also on the ancillary events that we are hosting, our 2 luncheons and our PTA's Got Talent, which is our scholarship event to raise money for student scholarships, our speakers for our activities, as well as a plethora of other information. So please do take a minute to explore the Leadership Convention page. Convention will be held again this year at the Omni Resort from July 18th through the 21st, and I hope to see you there. If you already know that you're planning to join us, that second link is going to take you right to registration without any fanfare. Just go ahead and register and we'll see you there. Lastly, this Road to Success, like all of our sessions, is recorded and will be posted on the Florida PTA website on the last link, which is the Road to Success page. Not only will you find tonight's presentation there, but you'll find a link to all of our past presentations, which also contain invaluable information for you as members of Florida PTA. We aim to serve you and your families, your school, and your community. So thank you again for joining us this evening. There will not be a Road to Success next week. The next one will be the week after. So we look forward to you joining us then. And until then, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.